Hello, I'm Benjamin, and I've been playing Dungeons and Dragons since high school. Over the years, my experience has expanded to include systems such as GURPS, Dark Heresy, and Shadowrun. Now, I am here to make my experience available to you and help make your games as much fun as they can be. In today's episode, we will be creating a campaign outline and then delving deeper into the first adventure of the campaign to create an adventure overview. Our campaign today is the Saga of the Sunblade, wherein our brave heroes recover the titular Sunblade to battle an evil lich that has taken over the lands. This sounds incredibly straightforward, and that's a good thing. The campaign's overarching objective is simple and easy to remember for several reasons. Much like with character goals, having a simple and defined objective helps keep the characters on track and make decisions that take them towards the end game. So our first event is the characters, each a champion of their own community, gathering together to seek the counsel of the wise wizard on how to defeat this evil. This is the start of Act 1, so the most important part of the storytelling here is to establish the characters and setting. Since our heroes are the characters, that part largely falls on the player's shoulders. But as the Dungeon Master, this is the point where you start establishing the setting in both tone and details. Now, I would like to make a quick detour here and talk about which system I would use to run this game. This is an epic quest to defeat a powerful villain, much like The Lord of the Rings. And for that reason, I would like to avoid having a system like Dungeons and Dragons. The reason for this is the way Dungeons and Dragons scales at higher levels, with the characters quickly becoming so powerful as to render the artifact that we're after, the Sunblade, somewhat redundant. While one option for avoiding this is to simply reduce the rate at which characters level, this isn't an ideal solution as it robs the players of their rewards for their actions. Players love leveling up. As such, I would use a system like High Adventure Role-Playing, or HARP, for this game. In HARP, the characters get a consistent number of advancement points to spend every level, but get diminishing returns for pouring all of their points into a small skill set, and thus avoid the late game exponential growth of Dungeons and Dragons characters by encouraging characters to build broad and develop a wide skill set, rather than build tall and become overly specialized. One potential advantage of HARP in a game like this is that in one of its expansion books, Folkways, it includes options for peasant heroes as starting professions, in a way that Dungeons and Dragons simply doesn't. This can dramatically change the story, as instead of the villagers sending their greatest warrior or mage, they send their most cunning trader, their strongest woodsman, or the smartest scholar, because that's all they have to send. In the end, the system is generally a matter of personal preference, but I do advise trying to map the system with the story you want your players to experience. Be aware of things the players might use to try and bypass adventures, such as using the Locate Object spell to bypass searching for key items. If you want finding the items to be an adventure, have them warded against such magics, or use a system which doesn't have that form of shortcut. Players are going to try and outthink your adventures, so either let them know ahead of time that it's not going to work, or let them feel really smart about using their resources well. Back on topic, this campaign is fairly linear, though we can come along and add branches later should we decide to make things a bit more open. Following the 3-act structure, we have the first act where we establish everything and get the plot rolling. That's our introduction and first adventure. This is where we establish the setting, the characters, and the villain. We should also use this opportunity to to show why the characters are opposing the villain in the first place. The blight of death upon the land, the breakdown of law and order, that sort of thing. Act 2 starts once we have the map and the plot has some momentum going. The travel adventure expands on the setting, then the heroes plumb the depths of the temple. This adventure should be punishing and cost the heroes dearly to complete, since that's how a strong narrative arc often works. Then the heroes find the Sunblade, hope, which is crushed by the discovery that the weapon that they had hoped to use against their foe has been corrupted by that same foe. The Sunblade is the Lich's phylactery, an incredibly powerful magical item that contains the Lich's soul. While it exists, the Lich can revive itself. This leaves them with a hard choice. One you should absolutely make as hard as possible for them. As for the narrative, this is their lowest point. Do they destroy the very weapon they need to stop the Lich, which is the only true way to defeat him in the long run? Or do they attempt to use it against him in the hope that they can destroy it afterwards? This is the pivotal choice that changes the endgame significantly. If they choose to destroy it, they need to take it back to the place where it was forged, as only there can it truly be brought to destruction. On the other hand, if they seek to awaken its full power, literature has plenty of examples of evil artifacts corrupting the wielder. Be sure to reward this choice. Make the blade incredibly overpowered and give a significant buff to the wielder. The story is no longer about if the characters can defeat the enemy. Instead, it has become a tale of the price that they paid to do so. And now we move on to the final confrontation, where the heroes who chose to destroy the blade are fighting at a huge disadvantage and need to rely on their wits and cunning to survive. Those who took up the blade have a much easier time, of course. Still a good fight, but with protection from the Lich's magic and an enhanced offense against him, the victory is practically guaranteed. Then we have the aftermath. The Lich is defeated, but at what cost? If the Sunblade was destroyed, I would probably want to have a few of the characters die heroically, taking the Lich to his final rest. The price should be high. If, on the other hand, the characters attempted to use the blade, this is where they pay the price, as they become corrupted by its power. The group may have infighting, forming factions where one half wants to destroy the blade while the other half wants to keep it. Or maybe everyone wants the blade for themselves. Alternatively, they stay unified, but the whispers of the Lich's soul have them seize power and become tyrants as bad as the ones that they just opposed, setting up a new campaign, where new heroes seek to end the reign of these evil despots. Now we're looking at the timeline for our first adventure in the campaign, getting the map to the Sunblade. The map is in the collection of a noble who collects such things, and lives in his mansion in the capital, which is where the Lich lives too. And so we get to the core mechanic of any adventure: choice. The players can choose to travel by land or by sea, fighting bandits or zombie pirates respectively. If they travel by land, they will acquire a token from the dead bandits, which will come back later. If they travel by sea, well, fighting undead pirates is its own reward. The token coming back later is important. Choices need to have ongoing consequences lest they feel hollow and meaningless. It might not come up for a while. It might not even come up until several adventures down the track. But every choice should have some meaning beyond the obvious. In addition, Once they arrive at the capital, they have to enter, which is easier said than done. After all, they are technically rebels who are here to steal a map to a weapon capable of taking down the ruler of the land. So they have to be sneaky about it. The first option is to just talk their way in. Maybe use some disguises or similar to help them enter. They aren't exactly well known at this point, so this has a pretty good chance of working unless they really screw it up. The second option is infiltration. This is harder as it involves sneaking into town under the cover of night by scaling the walls and avoiding patrols, but if it works, then no one even knows they're in the town. Finally, they have the option of bribing a guard to let them in. There's a risk involved, of course, but there are enough guards who'll take some not asking questions money to make it a viable strategy. Each choice here has different effects on outcomes going forwards, as it should be to make the world feel alive. A quick sidebar here on unconventional means of persuasion. What if a female character decides to seduce a guard to get through, rather than talk or bribe? What if magical mind control is used? Or intimidation? The important parts should be, did it make the encounter more memorable to the guards? And did the guard get something out of it? Or possibly, was the guard promised something out of it, then not given it? Or were they controlled in some way that they later realised they were tricked or enchanted? In general, if the encounter would give the guards reason to suspect the player characters, remember them, or worse, feel ripped off by them, then that is likely to spell trouble. Likewise, any form of deal or exchange, for practical purposes, probably falls under the banner of a bribe. So the next part of this is to find the map. The PCs know it's in the collection of a noble, but which noble? Time to start asking around. And this is where we start to see real consequences for the character's previous choices. Here we have three directions that it seems likely the characters will go. The criminal underworld, talking to people to get rumours, or bribing servants and contractors for information. This is where our first choice comes into play. If the characters travelled overland and took the bandits' token, they can use that to pretend to be sent by the bandits on this mission and use that to leverage trust among the local underworld. If not, then that trust must be earned in a mini-adventure where the characters prove themselves. We're not going to detail that escapade today. This is another chance for consequences. If the players did something to make the gate guards suspect that they were up to no good, then have them make the criminal task hard for the characters by keeping an eye on them. Even if the characters use bribery to get past the guards in the first place, the guards may be out for some good old-fashioned blackmail and extortion to get more out of them. The second option that the players might go for is to just chat with people and try and work out which lords are like to collect things. This takes time, probably costs a few drinks, and if you got the guards suspicious when you came in, then it might cause some questions to be asked. If the players went in and drew enough attention to themselves for the guards to be suspicious, then they get politely asked a few questions and can either try and lie their way out of trouble, again, or kill the guards and leave no witnesses. Both are viable depending on the party makeup. If the characters didn't draw attention, such as by avoiding the gate guards entirely, then they should be able to get through their tasks unmolested. This is a way to reward great rolling from the gate encounter, or to reward not taking the easy route. The point of having all these options is so that the players feel that what they have been doing matters and affects the game. Most players quickly work out when they're being offered the illusion of choice, just cosmetic choices, or when they're simply being railroaded into a specific set of decisions. While sometimes these techniques can be expedient, over the course of a campaign, it quickly erodes both immersion in the game and trust that the players have for their GM. If choices don't have consequences, then does it matter which one you pick? Paying attention becomes less important when the results are the same no matter what. So let's talk about consequences for a bit. Most of this outline so far has assumed that the characters succeed in some form at whatever they're doing. But what if they don't? What kind of consequences do you face if you bribe the wrong guard, or completely flub your talking your way into the city, or you fail to calculate patrol times correctly and get caught breaking into the city? Character death at this stage of the campaign, particularly for a single failed check in some cases, is not a reasonable or fun consequence for failure. It doesn't make the game fun if every roll is succeed or die. You know what does make the game fun? Making failure into an opportunity. In this case, failure becomes an opportunity for another mini-adventure. This one being breaking out of jail. It's a great chance for the characters to learn some useful stuff from the other prisoners, including the location of the map, maybe make some criminal contacts, get a side quest or two. Really, the sky's the limit here. Make failure a chance at a different kind of success, and your players will love you for it. Now what we are setting up here is a nexus for all our characters' failure options in the city. The reason for this is largely practical. It means that as a game master, we only need one mini adventure prepared for this eventuality, no matter what path the players choose to go down. This saves a lot of time and effort, and at the same time is not railroading, because it only kicks in if the players fail their primary plan. It also means that it gets everyone back into the adventure in a fun and dynamic way while being logical within the setting. And if you don't use it this time, most prison escape adventures can be easily tweaked to fit whatever city the group ends up in, so your preparation work can be quickly recycled next time the group finds themselves in town and up to no good. Speaking of up to no good, it's time for bribing people to start catching up with us. Bribery is a double-edged sword. As while it generates results quickly and easily, it also gives up power. Guards can blackmail you or extort further payments by subtly reminding you that they have pretty darn good evidence of you bribing a guard, for instance. Others might tell their employer about someone being interested in their private collection and throwing money around to find out more. The more overt the bribes, the bigger the risk of it coming back to bite you. For example, finding noble servants and flat out paying them cash for information is a great way to get found out. The noble can outbid you, and might have a standing policy that servants take the bribes, then report back to the noble immediately afterwards. If the person you're bribing starts asking more questions than they're answering, you might be in a lot of trouble. On the other hand, bribes in the form of buddying up with someone and buying them a few beers at the bar while asking about their job will probably not attract any untoward attention at all, unless you are incredibly unsubtle about it. Once our characters know where their target is, it's time for another mini adventure. This one's a heist, as the characters try and get the map without getting caught and arrested. Again, we're not doing a full detailed build of this today. And finally, the wrap up. If our heroes succeeded, then they have a map to the Sunblade. If they failed, then the Lich is sending agents to check on his phylactery, and the characters can track them. Again, an opportunity from failure. but at the cost of adding an extra roadblock in the way. But that is all for now. Don't forget to like, subscribe for more content, ring the bell to get alerted every time a new video comes up, and join my Patreon. Members get custom render art of their characters, monthly one-shot games run by me, and potentially they even get to take part in full long-term campaigns. In any case, keep well and have fun.